Hi everyone, this is Justin from OpenFn, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you a demonstration of how you can use our feature called Sandboxes to develop fixes and work on new features on your workflows without affecting your live production environments. So a sandbox is essentially a clone of your project with its own history and workflows and settings, but it does share some of the parent project's credentials and billing. Everything else is isolated. So the idea is that you can work on your workflows in complete isolation to your main project. And once you're done and you've tested everything and you're ready, you can merge or push and promote those changes back to your main environment. So let's dive into the OpenFn app and have a look at how we can use sandboxes. I'm here in the OpenFn app and I have a workflow open, which is a webhook-triggered workflow, which receives requests from KoboToolbox when a survey is submitted. We then process that submission. We transform and aggregate the data for a DHIS2 indicator, and then we submit it to DHIS2. Let's say we wanted to make some changes to this workflow and add a couple more steps at the end for error logging. We can see that this workflow is live and active in production. We don't want our changes to affect the live active production runs and cause any errors for users. So this is a perfect use case for sandboxes. To start, let's create a new sandbox. We head on over to the left here and click on Sandboxes. To create a new sandbox, we click this button in the top right, Create Sandbox. We give our sandbox a name. This should be an intuitive name for the feature that you're developing. So in this case, we'll just call it log errors. And you'll see that's the name that gets associated with this sandbox. You can also choose a color to sort of associate with your sandbox environment and distinguish it from other sandboxes. And then we hit create. Now we have created our sandbox. You can see in the top right, we are inside our demo library project and inside the log errors sandbox. And what you can see is we've got copies of all our workflows here, the exact same workflows we were looking at from production. Let's open this workflow, which is the one we were looking at, and we can see the exact same steps from that workflow. But we are in a sandbox isolated environment, so we can work on this without affecting our production. You can also see that it is inactive at the moment. Something important to take note of is how credentials work with sandboxes. If we open this step here, we'll see that a credential is already configured for this step, even though we're in the sandbox environment. And that's because your sandboxes inherit and have access to the credentials from your main project. However, you might not want your sandbox workflow to be connected to the same credentials as your main production environments. So you might want to have a separate set of credentials for that. OpenFn makes it quite easy to configure that. Simply edit your credential here, and you'll see a section called Credential Environments. By default, we have a main environment, and this is for your main production workflows. But if you wanted a new credential for your sandbox environment, then you would simply click the plus icon here to add a new environment. By default, all our sandboxes get associated with a dev environment. So you can simply label this dev, and the OpenFn app will know that this credential that you put in here is associated with this sandbox that you are working in. Once you've filled out this form, you can go ahead and click Save Credential, and this new dev credential will get associated with your sandbox environment. Great. Now we have configured this step in our workflow to be associated with a different environment credential so that we don't accidentally fetch data from our main production environment. Next, let's edit our workflow to add a couple of steps at the bottom for error logging and maybe sending out errors to an admin to review. Let's use the AI assistant to make this quick and easy. We'll open the AI assistant here, and then we'll add our prompt to the AI system to add two new steps at the end of the workflow. One, to get the errors using the comment adapter, and two, to send those errors to an admin using the Gmail adapter. The AI assistant will think about this for a little bit and then create those steps in our workflow below. And now we can see that the assistant has finished and has given us the two new steps at the end of our workflow. Great. We are ready to test and then merge this workflow back into our main project. Let's assume for now that the workflow is working as expected, and we actually want to merge it back into our main project. To merge a sandbox back into the main project, we need to go back into the sandboxes area here. So let's click on sandboxes. We can see our sandbox log errors, which is the one that we've just been working on. And in the far right here, we can see a couple of icons. And one of the icons is to merge the sandbox. Click on that icon, and you will have a couple of options for how you want to merge the sandbox and where you want to merge it into. So you can see here we are merging the log errors sandbox into our demo library main project. And we can even choose which workflows we want to merge. We only edited this one workflow, so we'll just leave that unchecked. If we did edit multiple workflows, we could check those different workflows as well. But let's just merge this one workflow and have the changes promoted to our demo library main project. So we'll hit merge, and we see a successfully merged error notification over here at the bottom. Now you can see we're immediately taken back into our demo library main project because our sandbox has been removed. Let's open the workflow that we edited. And here we can see our 2 new steps that our AI assistant built for us in our sandbox environment. And these are now in our main live environment for usage. If we come back into our sandboxes section, we can see our old log errors sandbox listed here at the bottom as being scheduled for deletion. And that's because sandboxes are scheduled for deletion 7 days after you merge them into your main. If you would like to restore that sandbox at any point and get access to it, you can do so within that 7-day period by clicking on the restore button. But that's it. That's how you can use sandboxes to work on your workflows, troubleshoot, debug in complete isolation to your main production environments. And when you are ready, you can then push those changes into your main environments. I hope this has been helpful. Good luck and happy workflow building.